We had a long conversation. I met Karmelo's mother, his sisters, and yeah, it was just a very fruitful conversation. Uh, with that being said, to meet the young man, you could tell whenever you meet a young man who, of course, is, I believe there are spirits in all of us, as far as good spirits, bad spirits, evil spirits, well-to-do spirits, fornicating spirits, impoverished spirits. There's different kind of spirits in us. And meeting Karmelo, I think at the time, I want to say it was 17 or 18, but at the time, this was a young. It was good with it, y'all. Just coming back. Make sure y'all can hear me. Make sure y'all can hear me. Just coming back with another quick video. Again, before we get started, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. As of course, it lets you know any new videos coming up, and have an ongoing conversation with things like this, as you just saw in the video. Right now, of course, as you see in the thumbnail, I was able to meet Karmelo Anthony. This was just to kind of let you guys know what the picture came from. This was a week after the stabbing of Austin Metcalf at the track meet. It was about 2 weeks after. The family was getting a lot of death threats. Of course, Karmelo, who was arrested, he was, of course, released on bond. I know the trial is going on right now. Of course, that picture was taken back on April 18th of 2025. Of course, the incident, I believe, happened on April 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere around there, April 9th or something of that nature, as far as the actual incident with Karmelo. But with that being said, I was invited, just being, part of the Street Stars membership, Street Stars member, I guess you could say. It was expected that, we have a voice of the streets. We have basically something to say and something to add to the commentary of Dallas-Fort Worth. And his father, Andrew Anthony, of course, invited us out to his home. They were keeping everything on the wraps. They did live out in Frisco. They were, of course, by way of Louisiana, I believe New Orleans, if I'm not mistaken, living in Frisco. His father, of course, a salesman in regards, auto salesman. And he just wanted to kind of get some understanding of the whole scenario and just kind of see what needs to be done. So I was invited over to his house where I took my daughter. My daughter, of course, she herself is a little younger than Karmelo, so I wanted her to meet the young man. But I went over there just to speak with him, just to talk with him. He invited me over, and we had a long conversation. I met Karmelo's mother, his sisters, and yeah, it was just a very fruitful conversation. With that being said, to meet the young man, you could tell whenever you meet a young man who, of course, is, I believe there are spirits in all of us, as far as good spirits, bad spirits, evil spirits, well-to-do spirits, fornicating spirits, impoverished spirits. There's different kind of spirits in us. And meeting Karmelo, I think at the time, I want to say it was 17 or 18, but at the time, this was a young man who just did not understand what was happening. He didn't understand as far as, I don't think he understood the weight of the situation that happened, the weight of the incident, but I know for a fact that he did not have malice in his heart. He did not have retribution in his heart, in the sense that he was out to get anyone or anything of that nature. Being from New Orleans, I can understand that, instead of carrying a gun, you want to keep a weapon to protect yourself from any and all assailants. If you can't, coming from Louisiana, period, don't have to be New Orleans, just coming from Louisiana, a lot of young men, they grow up fighting for their lives, and even their parents will fight for their lives, where they'll teach your children that, you don't let anyone get the best of you. Someone will take your life out here, especially when you live in a scenario, in a place where you see lives taken every day. So I can understand totally why he would, of course, have a weapon on him, meaning he had a kind of a Swiss knife where the blade was retractable, and the blade came out to like maybe 2 inches, just that long. probably even shorter. It was a thick blade. So it was something that you would technically, it's not a fatal weapon. You could technically cut someone, you could technically stab at someone, but it's not a weapon to do a job. It's not a shank. It's not a, technically a fork might have been, a butter knife was longer. That might have been more effective. But of course, the situation that occurred, where he, of course, was pushed or allegedly pushed in regards, and then of course defended himself by utilizing the weapon, sticking it in the young man's chest. I'm sure he did not know that blow was going to, of course, take his life. I know it was probably a blow to say, hey, get off me, I'm defending my life, but it was not a blow to take his life. And of course, if an artery is struck or if a lung was punctured or anything of that nature, I totally understand as far as the force of that or the puncture of that, taking the young Austin Metcalf's life. But as you know, right when that happened, Karmelo immediately was asking if the young man was okay. He immediately was talking to the police, wanted to make sure he was all right. There was, again, no malice in his heart. Even upon meeting him that day, as far as talking to him 2 weeks after, I just informed him, that, as of this moment, he's still a child. God's will be done. This is not the end of his life. This is not the end of his world. For him to just keep on pushing and put it in God's hands. Of course, the trial was a year off back then. So he didn't know what was coming. So he continued to go to school, continue to try to attend college, and kind of just do what he was going to do prior. And I told him that's exactly what he should do. Don't let this case bother him as he's on bond. Most people are sitting in jail on bond thinking about it every day, but he's released. The attorneys, I told him the attorney's going to be asking him questions, going to help him through briefing, but let his parents take care of that. He's still a child. Let his parents take care of that, and of course, answer when called upon. But I told him just to live through life, be happy, be merry, get through life up until this point where you have to address this. Don't worry about the trial. Don't worry about what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. Just live your life as a child, and when it comes, again, God will have the final say. With that being said, looking at the trial itself, looking at the jury pool where it's all white jurors, and I know you're judged by a jury of your peers, and I know this is Collin County. We're in Frisco, and I know that most likely when you're going to get jury selection, it's probably going to be more of either Caucasians. You expect probably some Indians, maybe some Mexicans, because there are a lot of Indians and Mexicans in Collin County. But there was no Mexicans, there was no Indians, there was no blacks, all white. Does that bode well for Karmelo? In my opinion, no. It's almost dread of doom, because you have to have a unanimous decision in a situation like this. You can't have a hung jury, or you have to have a retrial. So technically, I believe that you could also get 2 or 3 black mothers to understand that this was not an intentional act. This was self-defense, basically. This was him reacting to an action. And of course, it's almost like if you were fighting someone, or if somebody pushed you, you push him back. He trips over a rock, falls, and breaks his neck. The intention was not to kill that young man. The intention was someone was being aggressive towards me. They were the aggressor. So to protect myself, I had to match action with action. And therefore, the ultimate, most people could walk away from falling on a rock or, getting pushed back. Get up and go home. But if you fall, break your neck, snap your neck, you can't get up from that. You're paralyzed from the waist down, or you're dead. And that's how I look at this situation. I know he does not want to take this young man's life. It did happen, and where the young man lost his life. I'm not saying the young man was a bully or anything of that nature, but the narrative of what was going on, he was getting bullied out of the section. I heard it was a rainy day. It was a track meet. He ran to a tent that he saw had protection. I believe from what they said, they told him to get up and leave. This wasn't his place. They told him 10 to 15 times, but it was raining. So he was not going to get out and leave the rain. He just, of course, said the words, you got to make me move. You got to make me. And, of course, when you say words like that, the best thing that Austin Metcalf could have did was go get authorities to tell them, hey, there's a guy who's being unruly. Can y'all assist with helping them move? You can't push a man. I hope even Austin, and his brother, he had a twin brother, if they're in life, if they have a wife, and the wife says, you tell your wife to get up and go make some, dinner or something for me. And the wife says, make me get up. You're not allowed to put hands on your wife, push them, force them up to say, get up. That, of course, now you are being the volatile act. You are now enacting. So if someone was to defend themselves from your volatile act, that can possibly lead to your death. Again, you are the initial cause. You are the approximate cause, is what they call it, the reason why all this started. You could say no, Karmelo Anthony is the approximate cause for going to sit in someone else's section. That's not the possible cause. Or he's the reason, him not getting up is the approximate cause. No, that's, again, words could be exchanged and things could be done. You could be violating, someone's personal space. But again, once you put your hands on someone in an aggressive manner, that is the act of self-defense and acts right there. So with that being said, just want to give y'all a little quick take on my thought process. I know it's a hard hill battle. I don't believe he will get found guilty. I believe he's innocent. But if for some reason the Lord does want to test young Karmelo Anthony and put him through a more rigorous test as a life was lost, if he is found guilty, I do believe the same situation with Amber Geiger and Botham Jean in Dallas, where she walked into an apartment, shot Botham Jean dead, and of course she received 5 years. I believe she received 10 years. In 5 years she'll get probation, I believe. Karmelo Anthony, he may look at the same thing. If he's guilty and they don't, he's beyond the age of a boys' home or anything of that nature, he may receive 5 to 10 years. And I would tell him that is just a test. You could, of course, get through 5 or 10 years by going to college and, still taking vocational school while you're incarcerated. Of course, I do the Prison Stories 101, and a lot of men have fixed and made their life better by, of course, being incarcerated, especially when they know they don't have a life sentence, especially when you can get through it. It is a test. But with that being said, I don't believe he's guilty. I believe he is free and innocent. I believe it was self-defense, and I believe he is remorseful of the death that was caused. So with that being said, this is just for prayers up for young Karmelo Anthony. It was I was very fortunate to meet you. I was very blessed to be able to sit down and talk to you for a minute in your own home. That is an honor of mine, and I wish you the best. I wish your family the best. I wish your friends the best, and even on the other side with Austin Metcalf, I wish his family condolences. I wish his friends condolences. I do not like the racial divide that this case is being drawn, as far as I'm seeing what white supremacists out talking to black nationalists, and it reminds us a lot of the 60s, of the 50s, of the 40s, of us fighting for our equal rights. But this, of course, does divide racial lines, and don't want to go too far into that, but I just want to make sure that we all are keeping our head on the swivel, knowing that the law is the law, and, like in the words of Rodney King, we could all just get along. With that being said, the dialogue is there. I want to shout out people like Smash a Topic, who's covering this case. A lot of people are coming from out of town to cover this case. I believe as of right now, as I speak, today is Sunday, the prosecution has rested its case, and now the defense will have its turn. They had 35 witnesses. They only called up 21 of them. So now the defense will, of course, call their witnesses, and I believe they'll do a cross-examination. This case was expected to last maybe a week. I believe it started real hard testimony on Wednesday after the jury selection started Monday. And I believe it's going to last the week that they expected. So with that being said, prayers up to everyone involved. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Please, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. But also, if you don't mind, hit that comment section. Give me your take on what you feel all this is, what you feel the outcome may be, and just what would you like to see happen here for the good or for the worse. I'm welcoming all people to talk, whether you're white, black, blue, brown, whatever you are. Please hop in the comment section. Let me know your take, and let's have the dialogue. With that being said, I'm out.
Shit. Whatever you talking about, the motherfucking lie. And you motherfucking know it. I don't give a fuck. Whatever you talking about, the motherfucking lie. And you know it. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Chimping out, man. Low impulse control. This is the reason why Austin Metcalf is dead. Because this is a response that is told. This is a response they teach their young people to have. This is a response that the mothers, the black mothers in this community does not teach its people to respect personal boundaries. It does not teach people to talk with respect. And that's why Austin Metcalf's dead. Because of your failure as black parents. Failures as black parents. Failures. Failures as black parents. Teaching the youth to kill. You're failures in your community.
Look at this boy. Look at this boy. Me and you, mutual combat. Me and you, mutual combat. What's up? Hey, can we get this combat?
Now you got me fucked up.
Is that an epidemic?